There is a moment most people in their 40s experience that they never talk about. You pick up a bag of groceries and it feels heavier than it used to. You climb a flight of stairs and you notice you are slightly out of breath. You try to open a jar and you actually struggle with it. Most people brush it off. They tell themselves they are just a little tired, or that they have been busy, or that they are not as young as they used to be. But here is what nobody tells you. That is not tiredness. That is muscle loss. And it started happening years before you noticed it. Today we are going to break down exactly why this happens, when it starts, what it does to your body beyond just making you feel weaker, and most importantly, what you can actually do to stop it and even reverse it. Because the research on this is genuinely encouraging, and most people over 40 have no idea the tools they need are simpler than they think. Let us start with the science of what is actually going on inside your body. The medical term for age-related muscle loss is sarcopenia. It comes from the Greek words for flesh and loss, which tells you everything you need to know about how doctors view it. This is not just about feeling a little soft around the edges. This is your body gradually becoming less capable of maintaining the muscle tissue it has spent decades building. Here is what surprises most people. This process can begin in your 40s, not your 60s, not your 70s, your 40s. And for most people, it is already underway before any obvious symptoms show up. In men, the decline typically begins in the mid-40s and picks up pace through the 50s. In women, the process often accelerates during perimenopause because falling estrogen levels make it harder for the body to maintain and rebuild muscle effectively. So if you are a woman in your 40s noticing changes in your strength or body composition and wondering why, your hormones and your muscle tissue are having a conversation your doctor may not have mentioned yet. The reason this happens comes down to something called anabolic resistance. As you get older, your body becomes less efficient at the basic biological process of building and repairing muscle proteins. When you were 20, your body could take the protein you ate, break it down into amino acids, and put those building blocks to work, rebuilding and strengthening your muscles with impressive efficiency. After 40, that process slows down. Your muscles do not respond to protein the way they once did. They need more input to produce the same output, and if that input is not there, the balance tips toward loss rather than maintenance. And here is why this matters beyond just strength. Your muscles do far more than move you from one place to another. They stabilize your balance and coordination, which is why muscle loss raises your risk of falls. They regulate your metabolism, which is why people who lose significant muscle often find it increasingly difficult to manage their weight even when their diet has not changed. And they play a role in how your immune system functions, meaning that muscle loss can affect how well your body fights off illness and recovers from it. This is not a minor cosmetic issue. Left unaddressed over years and decades, significant muscle loss leads to frailty, slower recovery from injury and illness, loss of independence, and a meaningful reduction in quality of life. 1 in 3 older adults already has significant muscle loss. But the more sobering number is this. Among adults under 60 who have chronic health conditions, 1 in 14 already show early signs of decline. It is not something that waits for you to get old. Now here is the part that changes the conversation entirely. Muscle loss is not inevitable. It is not just something that happens to you. It is something you have a real ability to influence, starting today, with 2 things that work together better than either one does alone. The first is strength training. The second is protein. And they are not optional extras you can add if you feel like it. They are the mechanism. Let us talk about strength training first because the mental barrier here is the biggest obstacle for most people over 40. When people hear strength training, they picture a crowded gym, complicated machines, and workouts designed for 20-year-olds trying to get bigger. That is not what we are talking about. What the research actually supports is 2 to 3 resistance training sessions per week. That can be your own body weight, push-ups, squats, lunges, planks. It can be resistance bands. It can be a pair of light dumbbells. The goal is not to look like an athlete. The goal is to create the kind of physical demand on your muscles that signals to your body that those muscles still need to be maintained. When you do resistance training, you create small tears in your muscle fibers. That sounds bad, but it is actually the point. Your body repairs those tears, and in doing so, rebuilds the muscle slightly stronger and more resilient than it was before. That repair process is what keeps sarcopenia at bay. Without it, your body has no signal to maintain muscle mass. With it, even modest exercise can meaningfully slow or in some cases reverse the decline. The key is progression. Start with whatever you can manage today and gradually increase either the resistance or the repetitions over time. Small, consistent increases are what drive results. You do not need to push to your limits every session. You just need to keep asking a little more of your body than you asked last time. Now let us talk about protein, because this is where most people over 40 are getting it wrong without knowing it. The standard dietary guideline for protein is 0.8 grams per kilogram of body weight per day. For a 70-kilogram adult, that works out to about 56 grams of protein daily. That number was designed to prevent deficiency. It was not designed to protect your muscle mass as you age. For adults in midlife and beyond, the research points to a higher target, somewhere between 1 and 1.2 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight per day. For that same 70-kilogram adult, that means 70 to 100 grams of protein daily. That is roughly the equivalent of 2 chicken breasts and a serving of lentils spread across the day. More than the baseline, but not an extreme amount by any stretch. The reason you need more is directly connected to the anabolic resistance we talked about earlier. Because your body is less efficient at using protein to rebuild muscle as you age, you need to give it more to work with to get the same result you would have gotten from less protein at a younger age. And timing matters almost as much as total amount. Spreading your protein evenly across meals, aiming for around 25 to 30 grams per meal, is more effective than eating very little protein at breakfast and lunch and loading up at dinner. Your muscles can only use so much protein at once for repair and rebuilding. Spreading it out keeps a steady supply available throughout the day. Practical examples of what this looks like: eggs on whole grain toast in the morning, tofu or lentil stir-fry at lunch, fish with vegetables at dinner. After a workout, a protein-rich snack within an hour helps your body take advantage of the repair window that opens up right after exercise. Something like Greek yogurt with fruit or a smoothie made with whey protein and banana gives you both the protein your muscles need and the carbohydrates that help replenish your energy stores. This brings up something important about carbohydrates. There is a lot of noise right now about low-carb diets, and if you are over 40 trying to manage your weight and your muscle mass, this is worth paying attention to. Cutting carbohydrates too aggressively can backfire. When your body does not have enough carbohydrate for energy, it starts breaking down muscle protein to fill the gap. You end up accelerating the very process you are trying to prevent. Complex carbohydrates, whole grains, legumes, vegetables, and fruit work with your protein intake rather than against it. The combination is what supports both energy and muscle preservation. As for what kind of protein to choose, complete proteins are your best option. Meat, fish, eggs, dairy, soya, and quinoa all provide the full range of essential amino acids your muscles need. If you follow a plant-based diet, soya and pea proteins are strong options because they contain a more complete amino acid profile than most other plant sources. Whey protein, if you use supplements, is particularly useful after workouts because it is absorbed quickly and contains high levels of leucine, an amino acid that plays a direct role in triggering muscle repair. Whole foods should be your first choice and will meet most people's needs. Protein powders can be a useful top-up when whole food intake is genuinely limited, but they are not a substitute for a balanced diet. One important note: if you have chronic kidney disease or gout, higher protein intake needs to be discussed with your doctor before making any changes, because both conditions require careful management of protein load. Here is what this all comes down to. The muscle loss that starts in your 40s is real, it is gradual, and left to its own devices, it quietly takes away your strength, your metabolism, your balance, and eventually your independence. But it is not something you simply have to accept. The combination of consistent resistance training and adequate protein is well supported by research, and it works at any age. Starting in your 40s gives you a head start. Starting in your 50s or 60s still makes a meaningful difference. You do not need a perfect program or an expensive gym membership. You need 2 or 3 sessions of resistance exercise per week and enough protein spread consistently across your meals each day. That is the foundation. If you want to go deeper on this, understanding specifically which exercises are most effective for people over 40 and how to structure your meals to actually hit your protein targets without overhauling your entire diet, that information will change how you approach the next decade of your health. It is worth your time to find it. Your muscles built the life you have. They deserve the investment to keep them.